Happy Thanksgiving from myself and the guys over at GoldBoys. You have chosen to spend 15 minutes of your morning on Thanksgiving with me to give you my best bets for the full Thanksgiving Day slate. I greatly appreciate that. Sincerely, from us to you and your families. I'm sure you got the float and your kids watching that now, and you're stealing off on your phone right now, trying to get some bets in. No opening monologue. Let's go right into the games. Thanksgiving Day tradition kicks off Thursday. We get the Bears and the Detroit Lions. Line opened up at 10.5, moved down to 9.5. Lions are at home. Lions atop the NFC through 12 weeks. But the Eagles are making some noise. Caleb Williams gets to play in his first Thanksgiving Day game. If they fail to cover this double-digit spread, now down to 9.5, I do think you're going to start hearing the Eberflus whispers. If he gets embarrassed on Thanksgiving, Eberflus probably won't be there on Monday. But I do think this is a spot where the underdog divisional game, getting practically 10 points, could show some life. I'll say that. There's been a little bit, after a 2-3 week down period between the Bears, we saw a little bit of uptick last week in their performance against the Vikings. So hoping for some high scoring here today at 48.5. Is this finally the Sam Laporta game? I don't have a play on him. I put one in right before the show. I'm going to go back to Sam Laporta after we talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. But with Montgomery banged up, yes, he's playing. Khalil Raymond banged up. Amon-Ra St. Brown a little bit banged up. Is this the game where they finally feature Sam Laporta? We will see about that. Then we go from the NFC North to the NFC East in the middle day window. Second game of the slate. Cowboys giving 3.5 to Drew Lock and the New York Giants. Tommy DeVito out. Drew Lock expected to be in with Tim Boyle as his backup. Cooper Rush, the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, coming off the best game of his career in terms of completion percentage, no turnovers, and QB rating. Cooper Rush gets the win against the Commanders last week. I think if there's an upset of any of these three games today, it's going to be the Giants. I would take the 3.5 with the Giants, even though they're on the road. That crash back down to earth for Dallas is coming. I feel like it has to. Drew Lock, I think, can get this offense moving. It speaks wonder for Malik Neighbors. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. But this originally with Tommy DeVito, I wasn't excited for this game. With Drew Lock, I think this one's going to be a little more fun and could be the upset of the day. Total sitting at 37.5 with the juice to the under. I think it's going to be more fun than that. If not, that's the time that you're eating anyway, and you can ignore it. But that's the middle window. Then we go into the late game with a non-divisional game. Miami Dolphins heading over to Green Bay, getting 3.5, I think is where it's at. It was at 3 when I wrote this up. It is now at 3.5, favoring Miami on the juice, and the total's at 47.5. Light sprinkle of snow from what I read the other day. This is the game I can make the least sense of. I have a good feeling for Detroit and Chicago. I feel pretty confident, surprisingly, about Cowboys and Giants, about that being competitive. I have no idea where this game goes, which is probably have the least amount of action on it. But I just have the Kansas City winter Tua performance in my head from the playoffs last year. He doesn't play well in the cold. That's a real thing. Jalen Waddle explodes last week against the Pats. I think it's going to be a ping pong ball bounce back to Tyreek Hill this week. He's had a quiet season by his standards. I think the police incident that he got into a couple weeks ago the charges have been dropped, so maybe he's playing with a little bit of weight off his shoulders. Josh Jacobs coming off a 3-touchdown performance. He would be getting more attention this season, but Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley are having MVP caliber seasons as running backs on new teams, so it gets overshadowed. But I do like Josh Jacobs today. Let's go right into my first one-unit play. This line has remained pretty stable all week, and it's Amon-Ra St. Brown over 70.5 receiving yards. There's a 69.5 on FanDuel or BetMGM, but the line's pretty much stayed flat. Bears run zone coverage at a top 10 rate in the NFL this season, aligns perfectly with St. Brown's success. According to PFF, he sees a 29% target share and the second most fantasy points per route run against zone defenses. Last season in Thanksgiving, he had 9 receptions, 95 yards. The year prior on Thanksgiving, because it's a thing with Detroit, 9 receptions, 122 yards. His target share versus zone defenses, I think, is what makes this go over the edge. I'm expecting at least 7+ targets. When he sees 7+ targets a game, he's hit this line in 4 of 6. So right out of the gate, I'm going St. Brown over 70.5 receiving yards. I talked about Laporta in the open. I'm playing him I'm playing him at 37.5. They can get it 36.5 on BetMGM or FanDuel. But I'm going heavy on him at over 36.5. You could pivot to his receptions. I like over 3.5 receptions as well. This is going to be the game where they finally showcase Sam Laporta. I truly believe that. Going on Ross St. Brown because of his success on Thanksgiving, but there's a breakout coming for Laporta. I'm usually a week behind, so maybe it's not this week, but I'm betting it that way. Before we go into the Dallas Cowboys Giants play, Bet365 is giving new users two fantastic offers. Either get a safety net on your first bet up to $1,000 or bet $5 and get 150 in bonus bets. It's your call. Click the link in the episode description to pick the offer that's right for you. You must be 21 plus, 18 plus in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Talking to Tone before the show, I love Bet365. There's a good chance if I keep my streak going that I'm getting booted eventually. But until then, I'll pump Bet365. Going right into the midday slate, Rico Dowdle, running back for the Dallas Cowboys, over 15.5 receiving yards. Dowdle has had 3+ targets in 4 straight games for the Cowboys. Gets a Giants defense that allows the 6th most receiving yards to opposing running backs and the 9th most targets. I think Dowdle appears to be entrenched as a starting running back. He's coming off his best game of the season, him and Cooper Rush. That's what I'm talking about. The downfall is coming somewhere. I'm hoping it's more on Cooper Rush side, less on Dowdle's side. 8 running backs have cleared this number against the Giants all season. It's worth mentioning 27 of Dowdle's 37 targets has come against zone defense. The Giants sit in zone 61% of the time. I don't think Zeke Elliott offers anything in terms of in receiving out of the backfield, but Cooper Rush getting high percentage throws, short throws. We saw a lot to CeeDee Lamb. Hopefully, they overcompensate for that and pivot to the screen game with Rico Dowdle. I think he can string together 2 decent performances. Give me Dowdle over 15.5 receiving yards. Little unconventional there, but I think he gets involved in the run game. They're going to want to get Cooper Rush similar to last week. High percentage throws, easy throws to get that offense moving so that they don't get embarrassed on Thanksgiving. Really quick before I go into Cowboys are bad. We really calling this an upset? It is an upset. I do think it's going to be an upset. I think the Giants cover the 3.5. Take the 3.5. If it dips below 3, you can stay away from it. But at 3.5, Drew Lock, I think he's just going to be peppering Malik Neighbors with the ball as much as possible. I didn't put anything in on a 1-unit play on Neighbors. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. But going with Dowdle for my 1-unit play in that game. Heading down to the late spot, the game that I feel the least confident in terms of outcome. But I'm going Josh Jacobs over 14.5 receiving yards. That's kind of, I guess it's a theme, the whole slate for me is receiving yards. I got 2 running backs in this slot, but 14.5 for Jacobs. Over on DraftKings. Clear trend in this Dolphins defense over the last 4 weeks. They've allowed no fewer than 6 targets to opposing running backs. Drastic jump over the first 7 weeks of the season. They aren't giving up the big play, which is awesome, but they're giving up everything underneath. Jacobs has a ton of success on the ground in recent months with the arrow pointing up. In the air. He's averaging 15.8 receiving yards per game in October, 23.7 receiving yards per game in November. So they're getting him more involved in the passing game. His home over road splits also favor him 3 more targets per game at Lambeau versus on the road. Dolphins run that too high shell with a light box. I think Jacobs is going to have a ton of success underneath. This was 11.5, 12.5 week 1 of the season. I remember because I gave it out as one of my first plays, the Brazil game, and it's still in that 14-15 range. He's going to be involved in the passing game today, especially if it's cold weather. Give me Josh Jacobs over 14.5 receiving yards. Before we talk to Touchdown Liquor Cabinet, let's hear a couple words from my boy Brad.
Wait, before we get back to the picks, I wanted to thank you all for watching. Friends don't let friends watch videos without hitting the like button. So go ahead and press the thumbs up button and like the video. If you're new here and not subscribed, you should go ahead and do so because we're dropping new content each and every day on the GoldBoys Network. We strive to cover every sport and give out picks and analysis and valuable information for free on the GoldBoys Network. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you can get notified when we drop something new. I'm Brad Thomas. Let's get back to the picks.
The touchdown liquor cabinet for Thanksgiving Day. My top shelf, I struggled here to find something I would put one unit on. I considered Dowdle. I considered Tyrone Tracy. The odds are too juice for a Josh Jacobs. They're too juice for Montgomery or Gibbs. I considered an Amon-Ra St. Brown at minus 105. I said, screw that. I'd rather spread the board. All the value here today is in those mid-shelf guys, the half unit guys in that plus 200 range. Sam Laporta plus 240. I think I got over on DraftKings. Keenan Allen plus 333 on Bet365. Two guys I'm very high on, and I'm going half a unit on each. I'm actually going 0.6 unit on Laporta and an even half a unit on Keenan Allen. Going into the Giants game, this could bite me in the ass, but two Giants offensive players. Malik Neighbors plus 215. I'm going half a unit. And Tyrone Tracy burned me last week. But I do think he can find a way against this Dallas defense. They're not been good against the run. Plus 165 for Tracy, half a unit on each of those. And then Tyreek Hill. I know that should be a full unit play. I'm going half a unit here on Tyreek Hill at plus 155 just because the weather slightly concerns me. I have 5 bets, half a unit on each. That's 2.5 units spread across the day in the mid shelf. We're living in the mid shelf. We're not going top shelf today, even though it is Thanksgiving. But my well vodka play, because you have to have one, Sam Laporta, 2 touchdowns, plus 2,200 over on DraftKings. If you have a $10 bonus bet or no sweat credit laying around, throw it on Laporta, 2 touchdowns. He gets involved today in some capacity. I'm convinced of it. Let's go to the lottos. I have 2 for you today. One's a game specials over on FanDuel. The other is my no sweat from FanDuel. I'll kick it off with my game specials. This is 21-1, 20-1 at the moment. Each team to score 1 rush and 1 receiving touchdown in the Bears and the Lions game. That totals at 47.5. So each team, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. We all feel good about the 1 rushing, I think, for both teams with Montgomery and Gibbs and even Roschon Johnson so far and Swift. It's the receiving part. Actually, I'm more concerned about Chicago, but I like this. I think this is plus 210. We're going to go, and it's a fun way to bet this game. 1 rushing and receiving touchdown each. Going down to the mid slate, Malik Neighbors, 25 plus receiving yards in each half. I think this is plus 190. It's the Drew Lock piece. The game is indoors. It's over in Dallas. He wants to be the starter the rest of the season. The best way to do that is keep giving this guy the ball. So Malik Neighbors, 25 receiving yards in the first and second half. And then the last leg, 1 rushing, 1 receiving for Miami and Green Bay. I'm putting a half a unit on this. It's 20-1, 21-1, depending what time you get it in. Very fun way of betting. Go with and a fun way to bet touchdowns without putting your money on one specific guy. These 3 legs are 20-1, 21-1 on FanDuel. And then how I'm using my FanDuel no sweat. 42-1 is a good enough range for me. I'm risking half a unit on this, so $25. Laporta touchdown, Keenan Allen 40 receiving yards right out of the gate in the opening slot. CeeDee Lamb 6+ receptions. Malik Neighbors with a 20-yard reception in that middle slot. And then Tyreek Hill touchdown, Jonnu Smith 4 receptions. These 6 legs, technically 3 if you want to look at it like a same game parlay. 42-1. It's how I'm using my no sweat bet. Guys, I threw a lot at you. You gave me your time on Thanksgiving, and I can't thank you enough. Grateful to be talking to you here today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cash some bets, eat some turkey, drink some wine. Have a good one. Take care.